Here in Orange County, California, in the office with Dr. Orly TAITZ just after the judge in Atlanta, Georgia made the most nonsensical ruling on this issue of Obama's birth certificate because his attorney didn't show up. Obama's attorney, Jablowski, I think his name is, didn't show up and just said, we're suspending our participation. I heard that. You heard that if you watched the prior tapes, but Orly TAITZ is the one attorney that has not given up pursuit of the constitutional issue of natural-born citizens. So Judge Mahlihi just made a ruling not based on the evidence, not based on law, as far as I can tell. But maybe I should ask the judge and get his side, but we're here for a quick response from attorney and also dentist Orly TAITZ. What's your reaction, first of all, to this ruling?
This ruling shows such a total disrespect of law and constitution and precedents that it's just criminal. The statutes in the state of Georgia are such that the candidate for office needs to show his eligibility. I have served Barack Obama with a subpoena. He was supposed to comply. His attorney, Michael Jablonski, filed a motion to quash the subpoena, and the judge said no, subpoena was filed properly and he needs to comply. Obama was supposed to show up in court and provide evidence. Afterwards, Obama went to the Secretary of State, demanded to hold the proceedings. The Secretary of State told him, no, you have to appear. Obama never appeared. He never presented any evidence. For that reason alone, the judge had to give us the judgment on the merits. Obama was supposed to provide his certified birth certificate, which apparently he does not have. He was supposed to provide a certified copy of the original application for his social security number, because we have evidence and we provided witnesses that showed that he's using a stolen social security number that was issued in 1977 in the state of Connecticut to the resident of the state of Connecticut. He's using multiple names, fraud upon fraud upon fraud. The judge originally stated that he can give a default, and keep in mind there were 3 cases. 2 cases before mine were very limited. There was 1 case by attorney Van Eren and second by attorney Mark Hatfield, and then it was my case. The first 2 cases were very limited in that they dealt only with 1 issue. They didn't deal with any evidence, but one constitutional issue, what does it mean to be a natural-born citizen? Whether Obama, whose father was never a U.S. citizen, qualifies as natural-born. And then my case had this part of the case, but also it had the evidence showing that even if the court decides that Obama qualifies, irregardless of his father's citizenship, still he cannot be considered natural-born because there is no evidence of him being born in this country. So all 3 attorneys were called to the judge for a pretrial conference, and the judge offered a default. And all 3 attorneys told the judge that, default is nothing. 99.9% of the cases, the default is being overturned by higher courts because the courts don't like default judgments. They want judgments on the merits, unless, of course, it has to do with Obama. With Obama, we had defaults for nearly 4 years now, or something similar to that. And the cases were dismissed on technicality. We told the judge that the higher courts will overturn. It's going to be just a waste of time. Not only that, the decision of this judge is actually non-binding. It's just an advisory decision. From here on, it goes to the Secretary of State. And it was important for us to show the Secretary of State that we have valid evidence and valid cases, because Secretary of State can override decision by this judge. So begrudgingly, Judge Malihi agreed to let us present our case, and he gave 20 minutes to the first attorney, he gave 30 minutes to the second attorney, he gave me 2 hours because I brought witnesses, 7 witnesses from all over the nation, and I actually spent over $11,000 on airfare, on hotel accommodations, and so forth for those witnesses. However, when the case started, Judge Malihi was really rushing us. He wouldn't let me give my opening statement. And my opening statement, you know, I had a video clip, I had some papers to show. It would have given the base for the case. He just said, no, you cannot present it. Start with your witnesses, and he was really rushing, and I could see that there is some outside pressure on him because he's really rushing this case. He wants to finish it quickly. Afterwards, there was no doubt in anybody's mind that he has to decide in our favor because the defendant, the candidate, is the one who is supposed to present evidence, and he presented nothing. I provided just a mountain of evidence. I brought a senior deportation officer with 30 years of experience who stated that there are multiple signs of forgery in Obama's birth certificate, that it's out of sequence, the certification statement is not the same that as certification statements on other birth certificates that were issued at the time, that the name of the registrar is wrong. He said that the social security number does not look valid, that it looks as it is fraudulently obtained because it was a Connecticut social security number issued in 1977, and Obama, of course, was nowhere near Connecticut at the time. He lived in Hawaii. And this deportation officer stated that in a case like this, he would have forwarded this to the U.S. Attorney for criminal prosecution, and if the U.S. Attorney refuses to prosecute, he would be seeking a warrant for an arrest of this person, in this case Obama, and deportation. A senior deportation officer with 30 years of experience told the judge that in a case like this, Obama would have been arrested and deported.
I would be seeking a warrant of arrest and an issuance of a notice to appear on any individual who made a false claim to United States citizenship and who was not clearly a citizen or was clearly admitted for permanent residence.
An investigator with 20 years of experience who stated that she investigated Obama's background, his social security number, his phone records, and he stated that in her professional opinion, the social security number is fraudulent. It's a Connecticut number. Obama was nowhere near Connecticut. I had an expert in Adobe Illustrator, somebody who has a degree from Indiana Technical Institute, stating that when Obama's birth certificate, alleged a copy of his alleged birth certificate online was opened, it showed multiple layers in manipulation, and which would be seen in a forgery, not in a document that is just scanned and posted. I had an expert in scanning machines and typesetting, stating that there are multiple signs of forgery. I had a witness who stated that she ran that social security number that Obama actually posted online with his tax returns, and he forgot to flatten the file so we could see it. She ran it through E-Verify, and it showed that on E-Verify, the social security number that Obama is using on his tax returns, his selective service, doesn't match his name. He doesn't pass the E-Verify. Somebody like this wouldn't be allowed to pick tomatoes. I had another witness who authenticated the report from the State Department that showed that in his mother's passport records, Obama went by different last names, so Barker. So I had multiple witnesses. I had over 200 pages of evidence. And after all that, the judge came with an insane decision. He stated that all of the witnesses were not persuasive, and therefore Obama is eligible and he cannot be on the ballot. He completely disregarded the fact that Obama never showed up and never showed any evidence, even though it was up to him to prove, not up to us. That shows a sign of corruption. Just again, we're seeing unprecedented dirt and corruption in the judiciary. And I don't know whether it was a setup from day one. They wanted to show that finally, after 4 years, here one case is heard on the merits, and this is the result. But of course, they disregarded all the merits. or whether maybe originally the judge was willing to rule on the merits and he was either threatened or he got some kind of consideration. It's hard to tell what prompted this judge to act in such a corrupt manner, but that's what he did. And I got the decision yesterday evening. I stayed up all night. I drafted an appeal, 23-page appeal, and I have already submitted it with some 300 pages of evidence to the Secretary of State of Georgia, asking him to set aside this advisory opinion of this judge, which goes against the law and the Constitution and evidence, and find Obama to be not eligible. And I'm asking each and every U.S. citizen, any decent human being who resides in this country, to please go on my website, download all of this evidence. Go to Orly TAITZ, ESQ.com, ORLY, T as in Tom, AI, T as in Tom, Z as in Zoo, ESQ, like Esquire.com. At the top of my page, you will find my proposed summary of fact and law that I submitted to Judge Malihi. You can also find on the first page the case file, over 200 pages from the case file, and you can also find the transcript of the proceedings that contain the sworn testimony of witnesses. Download it, and you need to send it by certified mail or FedEx to two addresses, at least two addresses. One, Attorney General of your state, and other two, the Secretary of State. To Secretary of State, you write, here is the evidence to show that Obama is not eligible to be on the ballot. To Attorney General, you write, this is a criminal complaint. I demand immediate criminal prosecution. We have clear evidence of forgery. We have clear evidence that Obama uttered forged documents. He is using a stolen Social Security number, which constitutes Social Security fraud. We have evidence of elections fraud, wire fraud, common law fraud, obstruction of justice, conspiracy to commit obstruction of justice, and all the above crimes. And we demand immediate criminal prosecution of Obama. Considering all of the crimes that he committed, he needs to be moved from the White House to the big house, and not a minute too soon.
Well, there you have it. Saturday, first Saturday of February, less than 24 hours after the judge's ruling. We'll see what happens in the appeal. I'm curious, Dr. Orly TAITZ, you mentioned once before that when you went back into chambers, there was a lot of security in that hallway. And I think you said, but there was an excessive amount of
security, yes.
You've never seen that much security going back into chambers, have you?
No.
This is bizarre and strange. And later we have witnesses that saw that the Judge Mahlihi, had security check his vehicle before he left the parking area, and when he did leave, he was followed by security. And it makes you wonder if this judge hasn't been put under some kind of thumb pressure, just as we suspect federal Judge David O. Carter was in 2009, when I was the only media reporter in the courtroom, and we did this interview with you and Gary Creep, who's now sort of disappeared. And I heard him with my own ears and saw his lips move. He said, this trial will take place, a federal jury will decide in January of 2010. Well, that's 2 years gone. What happened? A month later, he changed his mind. What we found out, and Orly can pronounce his name better, is in that first week after September 8th, 2009, suddenly, out of all the federal judges, a lawyer by the name of
Sadat
Villamor came to be the clerk. Now, he had prior, just day before, been working for Obama's law firm.
He still works for them. He was just...
And he's gone back to working for them?
Oh, yeah. He just took 6 months leave.
I mean, this is corruption like in your face, and now lick it and learn to like it. I mean, it's unheard of. Judge Carter should have at least mentioned, I've changed my mind. And by the way, I have a new law clerk that just yesterday worked for Obama's law firm, and now he's my personal clerk. Now, you got to understand, there are thousands of judges he could have gone and been clerk for. How did he, out of thousands of American judges, end up right in this court? And then the judge changes his mind. So Orly is not very far from the truth, if she isn't dead 100% on the head of the nail, that there's corruption involved here. proving the corruption will take, I think, a common law grand jury of we the people that come together, take evidence, and make indictments. Anything run by the government when it's this corrupt is useless in my view. I'm William Wagner. I hope I gave you second thoughts